Sparklord, I wonder how much of the differences between you and me are rhetorical, because you and I are definitely talking about two different things. Look, my glasses are all screwed up. Um, these ones are wired back together. Uh, I mean, I'm thinking of scientific methodology when I say science. If you're talking broadly, right? Because if you're talking about some particular culture, it's like the difference between talking about sport and football culture in particular, or volleyball culture, or these. When you're talking broadly about science, I think of the scientific method. Now, to me, this is a method that has helped us overcome a lot of biases, even in science, where at first they started saying, well, forget all of this religious stuff, and look, we have all these new ideas, and we're free thinkers. Then they got their own bias. We can figure out everything that's going to happen in the universe if we just knew this, that, and the other. And they had to face even that certainty. And it didn't become less certain, and yet they still kind of lost it as a certainty. You know what I mean? The numbers of Newtonian physics still work incredibly well, but they had to face where they break down, and it led to a whole other set of information, and now we're in a position to expect that kind of thing from science. So if you're talking about the methodology, that's that. Now, if you're talking about a particular subculture, we could talk about this kind of thing, like medical. I think that medical research, the terrible things it does to animals, are not justified. I think human beings could get their medical answers slower. And, sadly, I don't think it's really going to happen just from a compassionate thing. I think that we will get technologies, you know what I mean? Like, we can put human skin cultures and use that to test if a new, sun block works or is toxic to human skin or something. You know what I'm saying? There's other ways, or maybe just scan it with a computer and have ways to study it. I wouldn't be against people being willing to use products over animals, even though that I don't really support either. I think there's a lot of problems and corruption with that. People being willing to be parts of these trials. But that would be better than the cruelty for animals. That's in medical science. On the other hand, I don't know where you're coming at from. Something like CERN costs some billions of dollars, I don't know exactly how much. And, euros, but. And, I don't see the problem with that. I mean, it's really compared to what we get in terms of knowledge and in terms of practical stuff. And you can say that's part of the thing, that I'm including the practical stuff, but no, knowledge does have a practical side. It seems way cheap. War is where we're obviously wasting money. We can put water in Africa, do scientific research, send robots to Mars. Those things are not a big problem if we just stop spending so much money on guns and ammo and war. And I think we could we could have less crime and spend less fighting crime in general. That's what I think. And I don't think science is to blame for any of those things. Now, does it empower powerful people? Yeah, but the thing is, what are you going to say? I mean, the Romans invented a lot of technology and did a lot of domination. They weren't a particularly scientific people. So if you go way back, in other words, it's not like you have, some sort of a freedom, right? So now I see you might think that the knowledge from science makes it all worse, but I mean, we're at a kill it or cure it kind of stage. It wasn't getting better on its own. The slow boil, the fast boil. I mean, we have to figure this out. We have to figure out how to use our knowledge without being jerks with it. And if we don't figure that out, we got a big problem. And to a degree, the world has that problem. But then again, it depends on how big a time scale, because the world will probably endure whatever we can come up with. Just by definition, something will happen, and some life will continue. I like an idea where human beings take that role, and I think we need the knowledge to know exactly how our role in nature can work. So I see that knowledge getting more and more clear, and that this being a potential for us to solve things. And I think with the methodology of facing things, getting your answers from nature through a skeptical epistemology, which is what science is in the long run, is a good thing. Now, the fact that the scientific method has helped science overcome prejudices, as I said, some of the stuff in comments, well, yeah, that goes to say that science develops prejudices. Yeah, I mean, groups of people. To me, that's not science that's changing all the time. The overarching idea is applying a skeptical epistemology to a philosophy of nature. So, cheers. Oh yeah, and I wanted to say, I don't consider you like anti-science in a negative way. I'm glad you're taking that contrast. I don't think you're exaggerating your views. I think you're taking them, and I'm not trying to exaggerate them, but of course they become exaggerated in the process of contrast, as do mine. I understand the dangers of scientific research and the very subtle issues and important, sometimes not too subtle, issues of scientific ethics, and I'd like to discuss that. So anyway, thanks for discussing it with me. Cheers.